if you aren't feeling inadequate in a season of your life, you're not being stretched.
That's just being a human. And sometimes I feel like we're told we can't have these human feelings.
It's like, honey, you're doing the best that you can.
Yeah. We're Sahara and Michaela, co-founders of Refine Marketing.
From corporate 9-to-5s to building and scaling multiple million-dollar companies in less than 5 years, we're not afraid to get into the nitty-gritty.
Giving you a raw and real look at what it takes to build and sustain a business.
This is Rise and Refine.
Happy Monday. Welcome back to the Rise and Refine podcast. Hope y'all had a lovely weekend, and
we're just going to do a fun little Q&A episode because we got a lot of questions we asked on social media. So we thought we would use all of those and make an episode out of it.
Yeah, definitely.
All right.
So the first one, we're just going to start off with a bang, is the biggest fear with starting the podcast. Did you have any fears? Because this literally was your idea.
Going back to an episode we did earlier, I had a terrible imposter syndrome with podcasts, actually.
Really?
There's just so many out there, kind of like there's so many realtors out there.
Yeah.
I just kind of felt like to do this much talking and to be honest with the talking, it's a lot of pressure, but more of like is what we're saying going to actually help? So that was probably my biggest fear. And also another one is they take a lot of work. They're very exhausting.
They're very exhausting.
Yes.
They're very time consuming. Yes. Draining.
Yes. So to start, it's like starting a business all over again. So I guess the fear with like starting from the ground up with the podcast, and ultimately, obviously, fear of one day is how do you like turn this into money and learning that
like
part
actually
of it.
a profitable business. Yeah, definitely. I think mine also stem from just like imposter syndrome, but I didn't have any experience.
Yeah.
Talking on a camera, really, but also two, with a microphone in my hand,
yes,
with lights being recorded that other people would listen to and could go back to anytime they wanted.
Yes.
And so I think that there was just general fear of my voice being heard.
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess that's just like
it's
real
the
answer.
Society and the world we live in nowadays, it's kind of can be a little nerve-wracking to say things, right? So, but then you also want to be honest. So you have to balance both of those things.
Yeah.
So lots of fears, I guess, not just one.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a little heavier than I anticipated starting, honestly. Like Sahara, this was her idea. She's always wanted to start a podcast, and she kind of just told me I was going to be the co-host of it, and that we were going to start it and run it together as a segment of Refined. And I just never thought that would be
something you would do.
Something I would do.
So all the unknowns.
Lots of unknowns.
Yes.
Lots of unknowns. Was the podcast always going to be about women-owned businesses? That's a good question. I don't think so. I think Sahara was originally going to start a real estate podcast.
I was originally going to start a real estate podcast. This specific podcast was, though, always going to be about that.
Really?
Yeah. What else would we have talked about?
Oh, like Rise and Refine.
Yes. Yes. Rise and Refine was going to be about that.
Yeah, definitely. Yes. So this one is actually submitted by a travel agent, and I think that's important.
Okay.
Because I think travel planner, so travel agent. It seems like she might be doing a side hustle. So what is your take on a side hustle? Is it entrepreneurship if you're not 100% full-time in it?
What's your opinion?
Rip off the Band-Aid.
Yeah. I think there's two sides to that because it feels like kind of like I'm a hypocrite saying this because it's like on one end, I think you should go all in. But then on the other hand, I do have 3 businesses and it's not like I'm all in on every single one every single time.
Yeah.
Like Venture Haven, I'm not all in on all the time, but it works and it does very well. So I think for your first business, your very first one, you should be all in.
Okay.
And build it up. But I think once you learn, you can have side things and make it happen.
But let's say if this person is trying to build that side business or side hustle into a legit business, but doesn't have the funding to do that yet, and is maybe using maybe they're using their 9-to-5 job to fund it for the time being until they can get going.
I think it's okay, but I think you're going to have to be willing to work long hours and sacrifice a lot to make it happen.
So do you think that's entrepreneurship?
Yeah, lots of people have done it.
Yeah.
I'm still gonna call it entrepreneurship.
I would say that too. Yeah.
I'm not gonna not call that entrepreneurship. We have a live audience today for our Q&A.
This is not distracting
It's
whatsoever.
it's prepping you one day for the future.
Yeah. I'm struggling. That's fine.
That's my opinion. What's yours?
Yeah, I think that it is entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
I think it's maybe a different form, but I honestly think that pretty much any business starts out as a side hustle.
Yes.
Unless you're blessed, you're put in a position where you have the funding from family, from your corporate job, from wherever, and you have the ability to venture out on your own and start from the ground up. But a lot of times, many companies do start out as side hustles. I mean, Refine started out as a side hustle.
Tons do, and they're very successful.
Yeah.
I just think you have to make sure you be willing to make the decision to go all in at a point.
Yeah.
And, not play safe too long.
Yeah.
You have to have a
agreed.
plan out. That's the biggest thing. Have a plan out or you'll be stuck too long.
And you have to have a vision. Like if you're
Yes.
just doing a side hustle to make some extra money, that's one thing. But if you actually want to build it to be a business,
That's different.
that's entirely different. And you really need to get serious, sit down, talk through your goals, talk through your vision, and actually have a plan set in place of like, okay, I'm going to go all in on this nights and weekends for a year. And after a year, I'm going to have X amount
Yes.
saved. And
You're
that's
putting
when I'm
a
going to.
deadline.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Could you ever see yourself rebranding? That would be wild, considering we built Refine from the ground up. And I'm assuming this individual is specifically speaking about Refined and maybe not the podcast, because really the two are
They
one
go
and the
together.
same.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know if we'd ever get rid of the orange or the things that make refine, but I think that every business should rebrand at least every 5 years. I think it gives a fresh look. Things change. Even if you don't do a full rebrand, adding maybe more elements or something. But I mean, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I can't ever see us getting rid of orange. That's kind of our signature, and everybody has recognized us for the orange.
Yeah. I think we actually need to rebrand and do a new color palette right now.
God, we definitely need a new color palette, or an expanded color palette, I should say.
Expanded fonts, maybe. Like, I think we would
typography
maybe
suite.
expand it right now.
Yeah.
But to do a full rebrand down the road, like years later.
Yeah, because right now we really are our brand.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not your cliche serif font, serif meaning the little feet on the top and bottom. So I don't know. I feel like it's in the future,
Yeah.
but not right now.
No, but we could.
Yeah. Do you ever feel inadequate in your position, and how do you overcome that?
In your position, do they mean like in work
I would assume so.
or just life's position?
Let's answer both.
Okay.
Do you ever feel inadequate in your, I guess, like season you're in life, or in your business, and how do you overcome?
I feel like I do. That goes back. I think that word reminds me so much of imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
Kind of the same thing. But I mean, what I feel like everybody goes down. It's not even like a self-confidence thing. It's just like sometimes you really get down. Like you work so hard on something and it didn't like get perceived the way you wanted it to. It didn't roll out the way you wanted it to. And then you're definitely going to blame it on yourself. Mm-hmm. So I feel like for sure all the time that can happen. But you just have to kind of like talk yourself out of it and be like, you know what, it's fine. We'll make it happen the next thing. If I can do this, I can do that.
Yeah.
And we'll keep going. But
yeah. And whereas for me, like, I definitely have those feelings of inadequacy, whether it's in my personal life or in Refined or even in this podcast. Like sometimes there's topics that Sahara will put on our sheet for the day, and I'm like, I don't have the expertise to speak on that. Like, why are we doing this?
Yeah.
When in actuality, it's like I have walked through different things in my life that people do want to hear about, and they want to hear about my experience. It might just be from a different viewpoint than Sahara or from somebody else that I've listened to on a different podcast or YouTube video or whatever it might be. And so I think that it's important for me at least to pinpoint and talk through with somebody. And when I say talk through with somebody, I'm not just saying like random Joe off the street. I'm talking with somebody who actually has fruit on the tree.
Well, someone who knows the way you think too.
Right.
Which is important because they can kind of help get you through it.
Yeah.
It's not some stranger you don't know who doesn't know you and your background or anything. It's people who are in your circle.
In your circle, but also people that like a mentor, for example, like somebody who actually can, one, know you, but two, they've walked through something similar, or they have advice that you'll be able to listen to, but also that you will be able to apply to your life because they have fruit on the tree. Yes. I think that's really, really big. It's like, you're not going to ask for advice on your marriage from somebody that's been twice divorced.
No.
You know, like
that's a good point.
Yeah. Like you want to make sure that that person has the background, they have the expertise, they understand you. You have maybe a personal relationship with them in terms of like a mentor, maybe it's a parent figure, whatever it is. And then you go and have that honest conversation, but you also have to prep yourself and be ready to hear the critique and hear what you need to change to get you out of that.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of people ask opinions, but don't listen. So I also think it's very important that if you're feeling a certain way and you want to talk it through, you're also willing to open up your ears and listen to what the other person's saying.
Yeah.
And not just get advice and run because you like, the way they do things or who they are. Like you need to actually listen and be open.
Actively listen.
Yes, actively listen.
If you aren't feeling inadequate in a season of your life, you're not being stretched.
That's good.
Like if you're constantly feeling on top of the world, if you're constantly comfortable, it's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Because there's no room for growth there.
No, there's not. I think sometimes these words.
Or you're not choosing to grow.
No, these words like imposter syndrome and inadequate and having negative mindset, all these words are looked at as truly something that's negative, like things you shouldn't feel.
Yeah.
Like that's the way that is portrayed. But in reality, in my opinion, feeling these things means you're living your life and trying new things. And it's just part of being a human. Like sometimes struggling with mental health, that's okay.
Yeah.
Having imposter syndrome, that's part of it. That's just being a human. And sometimes I feel like we're told we can't have these human feelings.
Yeah. When in actuality, it's like, honey, you're doing the best that you can.
Yeah. Get through it. It's
and
okay.
You failing, heck, for at least you're failing. Yeah. You're trying, you're living life.
Yes. You feel inadequate now? Guess what? That's fine. Move on. You can feel that now, process those feelings. Later on, you may feel like you're on top of the world.
Exactly.
Like it comes and goes.
That's a really good question. I'm glad that we answered that one. Let's see here. How do you balance your personal life and your business life?
Comes and goes. There's seasons of life. Sometimes you're more focused on personal life. Sometimes you're more focused on work life. For me, it's hard to ever say they're very 50-50. I don't know. Because like during the summer, I'm actually more free personally because my agents are so busy. There's so many things going on that, I can kind of focus more on personal. But like right now, it's like really busy season. I have to kind of put work a little bit first.
Yeah.
So for me, it's not 50-50. It's just making sure you have as healthy of a balance as you can while focusing when you need to.
Yeah. I'd say, we jokingly all the time say that we quit our 9-to-5s to work in a 9-to-5 in our own 9-to-5s.
Yes.
But in actuality, it's more so of I don't think there's ever really a balanced life like you're saying.
I really don't think there is. I really can't think of like there's a time when I'm 100% like 50-50.
I do say I am very intentional about making time for Casey, for going up to my parents on a weekend, even if that means I'm going up there for a work weekend, for maybe like a Saturday half day. I'm going to work up there. I'm going to, work on a website, whatever. But then in the afternoon, I'm going to go antiquing with my mom.
Yeah. But you said the key word there. You said you're intentional about it.
Yeah.
And I think people expect for it to just happen for them. You have to be intentional about it to make it happen, to balance both.
Right.
Yeah. All right. I think we have time for two more.
Okay. What's one big goal you have for 2025?
And I know everyone's going to say this, but I'm going to be basic and say this. But I would really, 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 really like to work on health next year. Like really actually work on health for the first time. Like I would like to cook more at home because I love cooking and I never have time to. Like I cannot tell you the last time I cooked.
Yeah.
But I would like to actually work out for a whole year. And even in the busy seasons and slow seasons to figure out how to make it consistent. But I think health for me is a really big one next year. That's just like overall goal.
I really need to get my health in check. I really do. And in terms of health, I mean getting back into the gym consistently.
Yeah.
As many of y'all know, if you've been following us for a while or listen to any of our other episodes, there's been a lot of moves that have happened in really the last 2 years for me. And I haven't
moved how many times?
4.
Yeah, within 2 years.
3 within 2 years.
Yeah.
4 within 3 years.
Which is a lot of moving around and not having your own place.
And it's super exciting now because Casey and I just closed on our first home. Whoop, whoop.
Yeah.
And I feel like I actually have a space to make my own, honestly, and like be able to go into the kitchen and everything is right there. I'm not living with anybody else.
Yes.
And so I know exactly where everything is. I know what we have. Like I can make dinner.
Yes.
I can make myself breakfast, lunch, whatever it might be. And I don't feel like I'm in somebody else's space or stuff.
It's your own organized chaos, which is what your mind needs.
Oh, yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And so definitely eating healthier is a huge one, honestly, for both Casey and I. And then we just moved to an area where I don't know the gyms that are around us.
Yeah.
It's more mom and pops and not so much big, large chains. So I found a gym and looking at it, trying to figure out if it's something that I can invest into because it is a little bit more of an investment. So really trying to make the time to do that and
figure out your new routine and get it going.
That's a big one for me for 2025 too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think for the business, I mean, we've always had like, this is kind of random, but we've always had a big dream and we wanted to do it this year and it didn't work with what else we wanted to get done. But next year we want to be able to do like our 2026 planning at the beach.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
We did say we want to do that. That would be so nice. Can y'all imagine like brainstorming all day and then like getting to just be at the beach, smell the salt air,
I know.
like take a swimming break, plan outside, eat seafood, and then rest at night.
It sounds amazing.
Yeah, that does sound. So yeah, we did want to do that.
And maybe it's a retreat. Maybe it's a mastermind retreat.
Yes.
I know something that we said on another episode. We don't know when we're actually going to be releasing it, but the idea of doing some sort of mastermind retreat for other small business owners, women,
like
women in business. Yeah. I think that would be amazing. So that's probably a goal that we have for 2025 that we actually haven't fleshed out yet, but
yeah, we're going to make it happen. We're going to make it happen.
Yeah.
All right. Last question.
What's the story behind the name Refined? So we collaborated on and just spewed out a ton of different names. Yeah. And then the one that stuck was Refined. We liked the idea of refine something, but we couldn't figure it out originally. Yeah. Our name wasn't it Refined
Branding Co.
Refined Branding Co. Yep.
That was the original name.
And now it's Refined Marketing. Eventually we'd like it for just to be Refined and drop anything else. But somebody owns that. So if you ever want to give it to us, please let us know.
Please.
But yeah, so no, we named Refined because, or in my opinion, this is why we named it this. This is what I had in my head. I guess I never communicated it to you. But the whole purpose for the name was that we are constantly, as humans, going through a refinement.
Yes. We're always refining our processes, our businesses.
Well, it's not only that, but like also just us as individuals.
Yeah.
Like we are put in situations to grow us grow us into the people that we end up becoming, but also refining. Yeah.
That's actually how I see it. I love the word refine.
Yeah.
Because to me it means not staying consistent or the same. It means you're always changing and evolving, which is very important to business and growth as a human.
Right.
So that's why I love that word too.
Yeah. So we're constantly in a refining period as human beings.
Yes.
And then also in your business, if you stay stagnant, your business will eventually die.
Yes.
Pretty much.
And
Like if you're not
grow.
growing, you're dying.
Yes.
As gruesome as that is, it really is the truth.
It really is.
And so, yeah, I don't know. That's the whole idea behind it.
Yes, I would agree with that. And I remember now, I just couldn't remember who thought of the word or when we came up with it. I just remember us both liking the word and what it meant behind it.
Yeah, that's why we named it Refined Marketing. Hopefully just refined one day because, yeah, we're constantly going through that refining period and makes us who we are. And every experience, every situation that we're placed in helps mold us into the humans that we've become, the women that we've become. And it's a part of our story. And the whole reason for Refined is to share that with everybody else.
Hopefully you guys enjoyed the chaos of the Q&A and just getting through some of these questions to answer for y'all.
Yeah.
We wanted to just do a fun little shorter Q&A episode. So
yeah, hopefully it helps you guys see into our mind a little bit, see into our business, who we are as people. And yeah, help to see more of the heart behind Refine and Rise and Refine. So if you guys like this episode, please subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on Instagram at Rise and Refine Podcast or at Refine Marketing _. Yeah, we'd love to hear from you.
yeah.
So
see you next Monday.
see you next Monday.